Having Narkle?
Yeah, Quinton just signing, working through the paperwork with the AFL as an SSP, so he'll join us as a rookie for the upcoming season. I think his story and his journey is pretty well known. Spent some time at Geelong in the beginning, and then obviously was off their list and was a train on with Richmond. I think there was some talk around him potentially landing there, and then ultimately ended up at Port Adelaide and was a member of their prelim final team last year. So I think that we know the quality of the player and his ability to play in big games. Plays a variety of roles, can play on a wing, can go forward, can go back. So, and he's a nice age, 27-year-old. So really pleased to welcome him and his partner Taylor and their two little girls. So I'm looking forward to him building in. He'll start off slow and just kind of gradually build into our program in the way that we focus on high-speed run. Any player coming into our program, even the boys behind me, kind of probably do about 80% of pre-season to build into it.
So where do you can play in so many spots, where have you recruited him to play?
It's probably that flexibility. I obviously played in the sub role, I think 12 games for Port Adelaide last year and was able to go anywhere, and it's becoming a big part of the game, the depth that he adds to our squad. So it's something over the coming weeks that we'll look to formalise. As I said, half back, half forward. I think he's going to have a variety of roles for us across the year, and puts his best foot forward to try and get a spot in the AFL side.
And he's close to Shea Bolton as well, eh?
Yeah, well known with Shea. They went to Wesley College together. There's a connection there between the two of them, so yep.
So did you have to make a choice, Joe, between sort of Tom Emmett, him, and even Sonny? Were they the guys that you were looking at that only two could play? Yeah, well, Sonny was never in that conversation. Sonny was contracted for this year, so and he's been really engaged in his off-season and hit the ground running today. So there's always one of those things with list spots, and even Max Noble having to be delisted, you've got to take 3 picks in the draft. So always those kind of conversations in assessing where things fit, what are our needs from a list perspective, and what our expectations are on a list, and that gradually changes over time when you look to invest into the draft around a period of years, and it's one where we had probably the least amount of list turnover in terms of available spots in a draft. So it's probably one where we're identifying now that we feel like we've got a really strong core and nucleus, and where can we add different elements to that, and I think Quinton, from a versatility perspective, does that.
Do you think your forward line has been strengthened this offseason, specifically with Narkle coming in and Bolton coming in, given that was where you were probably letting yourself down, having 3 spots on the ground? Yeah, I think there's different things in terms of the development of those players and our ability to have Sean out in the park full time, which means Jacko and JT and Jai Miss can be those probably 3 consistent tall forwards, and then you bring in Bolton, his ability to go forward on ball, and you've got Sikowski and obviously Frederick and Walters and Sturt, and you start to get some real strong pressure for spots, and I think that's probably the key aspect when you look at our small forwards. Cooper Simpson developing, Murphy coming in. We think that there's now that strong competition from a small forwards perspective, and a bit of that craft and X factor as well, which we wanted to try and bring in. So it was definitely a priority for us, and we think that it's well placed.
And Max, a bit of an overview, Joe, of the time trial this morning, the type of run they were doing and who performed well?
Yeah, I'll be honest, I wasn't in detail and haven't got all the details yet. I'm sort of tidying up a few bits and pieces before getting up here, but they did 3 1Ks. It wasn't the entire squad, it was just a number of guys that from a program perspective it was the right timing for them. Off the cuff, from what I saw, Alex Pearce has come back in really, really good condition. I'm sure our media team will have all the details and be able to tidy it off. Really pleasing to see the way in which Jerome put his best foot forward. Michael Frederick, Andrew Brayshaw, the names that we kind of expect to be running up the front look to be, and one that did stand out, Matthew Johnson, looked to run pretty well too.
And these guys all ready to go physically for the training?
So it'll be part of the screening process. As I said, it's always one of those things just in terms of going through the screening, even looking at the technique within the gym and how they can maintain the load from a strength point of view. And the program we do have is a high speed running program, so our hills on a Saturday morning and our load during the week, there's a high speed volume, so just need to gradually build in, but at this point in time none of the boys have any glaring concerns that would hold them back, but it'll just be a drip feed into Christmas.
Where's Sean Darcy? What are we at?
Yeah, he's going well. He's on track with the program that we've implemented. There's obviously a significant injury and a few things around Sean's knee that we need to continue to work with, so surgery was a success. Hasn't been able to implement the running program at the beginning because that's obviously a fair way back. It's the stability piece that's a priority. So we engaged a biomechanist who's been assisting us with that program in the gym for Sean. He's been really diligent in the way that he's applied himself. So progressing those KPIs now, making sure that his strength deficit between both legs is equal, and obviously takes away the element of risk. And then as he goes through that strength deficit and making sure he's got that stability, he'll then transition into a strong running volume. So he's done some running today on field, which has been really pleasing, and we expect him to be back into footy in the new year, but those timelines will be dependent on how he goes between now and Christmas with that transition to on-field running.
Is he lighter than what he has been in the past?
Having gone through all he's probably from a strength perspective, he's obviously adding on some muscle mass in the areas from obviously within his legs and torso, and those are probably the things that we want to prioritise in that stabilisation when you've had issues with your knee. So just working through all those elements, and as he builds into running, we'll get clear on what we want his match day weight to be.
Do you feel like you've worked out, he's had knee issues for a while, like, do you feel like you've got to the bottom of why he hasn't been able to just get right?
Yeah, well, there's been different elements and different types of injuries, and you also had the ankle as well. So it's probably now where we need to be really, really diligent. Sean needs to be really diligent in the way that he applies himself to the program that's set for him, and also the way in which he plays in games with Jacko and how we make sure that works. I feel like we're on top of it, and now it's about making sure we're consistent in the application to the program that's set. And Shawnee obviously plays a really big part in that, and we feel like when he's fit and firing, we're a very formidable force from a midfield perspective in the way that he goes about it and work with our mids and can work with Jacko. So getting him up and going is a real priority for us.
I think I've heard you say, Joe, that he needs a big pre-season. That's what you really want, isn't it, from him?
Yeah, well, as I said, it's the diligent piece and the application to the program that he's going to do within the gym, and that's going to be a big part of it, making sure that all those boxes are ticked really well. And it's not something from our perspective that we're going to be prioritising. If he's not ready to go for round one, then we'll obviously look to work through that. He needs to make sure he can tick every box and be up and going, because this is a thing that's not about the short term, it's also long term, making sure we get the most out of Sean from a career point of view.
Who else should we be not expecting to see running around for a while?
No, not too many. As I said, Quinton will have a kind of build coming off his off-season, and us obviously getting our head around what that looks like for him. But Hayden Young's back into training now. There'll be a few players with bits and pieces, but fairly limited. Shea Bolton arrives with his family on Wednesday night, and he'll be in full training on Friday. So we'll have a look at him on Thursday on the players' day off and just make sure everything's okay. And again, he's had their baby, so he's probably one that will transition in. So he and his partner Asina and Sakai, their son, and their new baby girl will be here. Yeah, it's fantastic to welcome them in, and looking forward to seeing what he brings to our group, both from a person but also his football talent.
Jacko looked like he was having a slow start. Was that fair to say?
He's put on some weight in the off-season as well, and he had his tonsils out, which actually you can't run for a period of time with that, so he's probably had an interrupted off-season. Big priority for him was probably to put a few kilos on, so it doesn't surprise me that he's probably one that may have been a bit slower to take off today, but he'll build into the pre-season, but those interruptions would have played a part for sure.
So tonsils out the footy reason, or was it just
the element of getting sick during the season? Yeah, so there's a few games where he's a bit unwell and had some enlarged tonsils. That the best action is to remove them, so you don't have to worry about them during the year. And he's not missing games of football because he's a bit unwell. So
with the list where it's at now, how confident are you that Freo can return to finals next season?
Well, that's the expectation, to be honest. We want to be a club that's contending, and we feel like we've put together a really strong list. And for us, it's about the behaviours and actions of everyone within our football program and our players. I'm not going to shy away from the fact that we want to be a contending football club, and you need to be playing finals in WA to be doing that, and that's what we expect to be doing. So you obviously throughout a year need things to go your way, but we've got elements of prioritising being the most consistent football team. There were games during the year last year where we fell away in the last quarter, and in games a lot of time up until three-quarter time. I think we're in more games than any other club apart from Sydney. So it's finishing our work, and that's feedback for us. It just means that those last probably 4 games playing against teams that are contending to play in prelims and grand finals, we just weren't quite there, but we were around the mark, and our expectation is we take it to another level this year, and that comes from the standards that our playing group drive, and our members and fans should expect that we're there when the whips are cracking.